Hey y'all, it's David Ducker coming back at you, joined once again by the MVP, Kitchener RPGs, Josh Pullman. And today we're going to be talking about RPG horror stories. This edition featuring the Triclops, Phil, the Tribrow. What's Phil's last name?
Whatever, we probably shouldn't be putting it on the video if we're going to ask it on you. So.
I don't care. I don't care if Phil tracks me down.
Phil
knows where to find me if he's got a problem.
But I don't actually know his last name.
I don't know his last name.
Anyway, so we had this player called Phil. And, new player, came in, kind of promising, brought in a bunch of minis, was like, yeah, let's do this. And so I'm running Dark Heresy. And it's going alright, but apparently I had no idea about this, actually. He didn't like me for some reason. No, Aaron was running Dark Heresy. That's right. Anyway, so Aaron's running Dark Heresy, and I have this character. He has mysteries. He's a secret psyker. Phil is not too interested, so Aaron gives him kind of a mission: investigate Josh's character. And well, you give the best impression here. Do you want to?
Me?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Well,
so Josh's character is a psychic. But it's a secret. He's an apostate. He's on the run from the Inquisition. Nobody knows this. He's subtly used his powers a couple of times.
Once or twice. Yeah.
And Aaron has now actually this comes into my video on secret character creation, because Josh told us all that he's a psychic. Out of character. So we know this out of character.
I trusted them to keep meta.
Yeah, he trusted us. And that's the problem. You should never trust other players. Because you run into a guy like Phil. And so Phil is constantly stalking around behind Josh, watching him. He's like, I roll awareness against Josh. And he's like checking this. And he's like, Josh will be like, I'm going to go take a piss, guys. Like, in character or whatever. And Josh's like, I followed him to the washroom. And I'm like, that's kind of creepy, Phil.
One particular point stands out, actually.
Yeah, we got into a gunfight in a bar. We went to, find the Hells Angels of deep space. We got in a gunfight in the bar, and we flipped the table over. We're shooting up over the table, and Josh is there, and Josh, I think, was firing. And Phil is like the big badass guy in our group. He's got this big shotgun, and Aaron's like, okay, Phil, it's your turn. What do? You're pinned down by enemy fire. And Phil's like, I'm ready in action to shoot Josh. And Aaron's like, what? And it's like, and I roll awareness to see if he's using his powers. And I have my turn. Like, I'm delayed. And Aaron's like, okay, Josh, it's your turn. What do you do? And Phil's like still role playing. He's like, use your powers. and Josh is like, Josh is in character, and he's like, what are you doing, buddy? Why are you holding this gun on me? He's like, use your powers. He's holding the gun on him. He's like, I shoot with my gun against the bad guys, and this keeps going on, and our cover's getting blown away, because in the system the cover gets weaker every time it's shot, and my character is hanging out behind the cover actually shooting, and Josh is shooting, but he's terrible at it. And the one combat effective guy, and he keeps doing it over and over. He's like, I delay my turn again. I'm like, stop it, man, stop. We're all gonna die.
He was the only person with a real gun. We all had pistols.
Yeah, we all had
variety.
Fairly poor gunfighting. But Phil was just obsessed with killing you.
And so it's kind of this thing now when a character sort of uses meta knowledge, really, use your powers!
Yeah, all the time.
It's a bit of a catchphrase at this point.
Yeah, it's an inside joke, and now you're in on the joke too. But this actually is, to me, this is not the start of the story. The original problem that Phil had with you was when you were GMing Pathfinder.
That's right.
And why don't you tell us about the character Phil came in with?
Well,
to my understanding, he asked for wonky, ridiculous powers and magic items, and you told him, no, that's wonky and ridiculous.
Yeah, he wanted... I actually worked with him to create an interesting backstory, and so he wanted to be kind of the head of a paladin's order And then I talked him down to being the son of a Paladin's Order, and he wanted a note from his father, basically saying, "You need to find me." And but it would inflict mummy rot on anyone who touched it who wasn't Phil.
Yeah.
No save allowed. And he's like, "Can I get this, DM?"
We knew he was going to use it as an offensive weapon.
He was
gonna start hitting people
like
with this
touch
piece of
attacks
paper.
all around, and it's just like, no, Phil, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Why would you ever want that or
It's
need
dumb.
that as a paladin? And he's like, well, it's really essential to my character concept. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. Effective to anyone that touches it, no save. That's a load of bullshit. And so it carries on, and it didn't help that he did kind of get ribbed for being.
Yeah, Josh shot the scroll down, but he allowed him to have like an ancestral breastplate and maybe like an ancestral sword, his father's sword.
He used a flail. He used his father's equipment.
His father's flail.
Yeah,
this epic flail.
Oh, God, yeah.
And Aaron and I are the other player characters, and we're ripping the garbage out of Phil. Like Aaron is Aaron Kenderson. He's the Eternal Kender. So confronted with a paladin, he's gonna just drive the man insane.
Oh.
So at every juncture, Phil would be confronted with a choice. He's like, we captured a necromancer. Should we kill him or put him on trial? And Aaron would be like, well, the good thing to do would be to kill him because he's evil. And I'd come in on Phil's other shoulder and be like, oh, but the lawful thing to do would be to put him on trial. And Phil's like, I'm so confused. I played a paladin to avoid having to think for myself. And it was like that with everything. Every little decision, we'd be just arguing and back and forth, driving this poor guy nuts, just nutty. And he blamed you. He blamed you for everything.
I guess.
As the GM, you were responsible for us being assholes to him.
Yeah, I hadn't realized. Apparently, he was pretty.
He was just
pretty upset with me, and I never realized.
He was going slowly mad. He's like grinding his teeth together. You could hear it if you roll perception very well. You could hear his teeth grinding.
Thanks. Oh, I'll get coffee. You keep talking.
Okay. Josh will rejoin us shortly, but Phil was going nuts, and at one point the nail in the coffin was we got in this big fight in like a bandit camp in an abandoned fortress, and Phil is just wailing away on this ogre, trying to drop this ogre, and it's this huge pool of hit points, and he's ignoring all the other baddies, and we're having to deal with all of the minions while he wails, while he goes toe to toe with the ogre.
Yeah, I thought it was a badass rule,
And eventually, we kill all the other minions, and like Aaron walks up behind the ogre. He's like, backstab, and he stabs the ogre, and the ogre just dies. And Phil is like,
That's actually what happened.
why would you do that, GM? Why would you do that to me, Josh? And he blamed you for everything.
He did. The ogre had grappled Phil's paladin, into the water because he was just getting his shit handed to him. He couldn't actually kill the paladin because of his AC. So he grapples the paladin and dives into the because it's like it used to be a mining shaft, open air mining shaft, which is filled with water and corpses and shit. So he dives into it, and then the dwarf and barbarian sneaks in, gets the last shot. Because he dives in, actually rolls well for his swim, amazingly, go strength, and manages to dive deep enough after them to tonk and just kill it because it was at his last legs. And then Phil's paladin couldn't swim at all; he was useless. He had no ranks in it. He had a huge penalty, so he ended up
because of his ancestral breastplate was fucking dragging him down.
So he ends up.
Josh is like, oh, I don't want to kill him because then Phil will be even angrier at me. I'm like, Phil, I'll allow you to cut your family breastplate off, and then you can swim to the surface. And Phil is just like, my family breastplate. That's my father's breastplate. And why would you force me to do that, GM? You put me in this well, GM.
So he
got
does it.
So mad that he lost his breath.
He does it, and they stay there for a couple days, and he manages to fish out all the pieces. And a
I
bunch of
don't
pieces
think
of
he did.
wood.
I think he lost that breastplate.
Oh no, he found it again eventually. But then he turns to me and says, "There better be a magic flail in this room."
There better be a magic flail, Gio.
And
I'm just like, metagaming! It's one of my
So, and I mean,
favorites.
you know what? I put a magic flail, and
You did?
I
You put a
did, but
magic
it was a
flail?
two-handed flail, and he only used like two-handed flails.
This is useless to me, GM! Why would you troll me like this, GM?
So
Two-handed!
and yeah,
Out
so
again.
yeah, it was something.
Yeah, and so that campaign rapidly deteriorated, and then we ended up in Aaron's game, and the Phil stalking you the whole time trying to kill you.
Yeah, he was. It was.
But that was why, because he thought you were you were out to get him. Is what he thought. He thought the world was against him. But then Phil just disappeared. Like no phone call, no email, no nothing. He just stopped showing up, and he left this enormous bag of minis, like hundreds of dollars worth of minis. And he just left them. Aaron still has them to this day.
Aaron had attempted to call him several times, and every time it went to the voicemail.
Yeah.
And he never got a response. So ultimately, he ended up keeping them.
Yeah, he still has them.
I guess.
Phil,
Yeah.
you can come and claim your minis at Aaron's place.
Feel free, man.
If you're watching this.
Just leave something in the comments. Some means of contacting you. Something.
Oh, that's brutal. But that's. Is there any other horror story with Phil? I think that was it.
Yeah, we only played in a couple games, as far as I know. He did have this penchant for doing kind of silly things. I remember his first kind of request to the DM. And this is pretty minor, really, but he wanted his shotgun to, whenever he pumped it, to eject a cigarette too.
Yeah, so that he catch it in his mouth.
I think so.
Smoke it like a badass.
And that was kind of his thing. I think he even went to a tech priest for it. It was this really crazy thing, really kind of at odds with the gritty setting. And he's like, "Yeah, give me this." Yeah, but you know what? I made him happy, so I guess so what? Honestly, it didn't really have any impact on the game. He was just every so often comment, "I pumped my gun and smoked my cigarette."
I mean, this Phil's whole experience to me is a good example of why trust is so important in the game. If you don't trust the GM, you're gonna have problems.
Or even the other players, for that matter.
Yeah, if you don't trust the other players, you'll have problems. They won't be as major.
Yeah, I trust Blaine's character and player, Ulrich's player, to not be dicks with meta knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But there have been enough clues that they're suspicious that they're probably going to interrogate me with thumb screws and hot nails. So.
Yeah, we've been joking about this recently because Josh's current character also has a dark secret, and the other players are investigating it. So every once in a while, we'll just be like, "Use your powers!" And he'll get the mace going on. He's holding it like a shotgun. "Use your powers!"
I don't think it's ever been that bad.
So,
but it's kind of getting to the point where it's feeling.
We're still cracking jokes on Phil, though, years later. But that's our horror story about Phil.
Yeah.
The Triclops, the Tribrow. We have to call him that because some people have a unibrow. Phil actually has 3 eyebrows. He actually has his regular eyebrows, and he's got a 3rd eyebrow right in the middle. It almost touches the other 2, but not quite. So he is some sort of abhuman. He took a feat for that. He rolled randomly for mutations, and he got the extra eyebrow mutation. Thank God he didn't get the psychic powers mutation.
Yeah, that's a blessing and a half.
Yes. So we're going to sign out now. We're done cracking jokes on Phil. We've been entertained for hours on end by Phil. And not in a good way.